Okay, I'm live apparently. Let's just make sure we've got this right. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. So, empath relationships, when to stay and when to go. Oh my goodness, I'm an expert on this one. So, hi, Rosey Glow here, Rosanna, known as Rosey Glow. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and head on over to Rosey Glow on Facebook and my Rosey Glow website, which will soon be revamped to be fabulous. But there's loads and loads of information there about my coaching and my yoga and everything else that I do, which really has brought me to talk about lots of different subjects in depth, as I'm a multi-skilled expert apparently. On the relationships front though, this is really a personal journey, and I kind of wanted to share this because I've seen such a shift. I've just turned 40 and there was something in me that just went, right, no more. And with the eclipses that have just gone past as well, we've just had the August and the July eclipses in 2018. There's just no room anymore for bullshit. There's no room anymore for us kidding ourselves. And as empaths, it's very easy for us to kid ourselves. It's very easy to stay in things much longer than we should. And also to get very confused about what is real and what isn't. And I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the difference between 3D, 4D and 5D perspectives as well. So as an empath, I've actually found it incredibly difficult to sustain intimate relationships for long periods of time without needing to pull away regularly. I had a 10-year on-off relationship, which basically ended I think it was every 6 weeks or every 4 weeks or every 3 weeks. Apparently it was quite linked to my cycle, but it was one that I entered into with a lot of resistance because I wasn't really feeling it, but the other person wanted it so much that I kind of went along with it on the basis that I liked being wanted, and that feeling of feeling like I wasn't going to be rejected was new for me, because prior to that I'd had a lot of experiences, a lot of attractions with people which tended to be one-sided or short-lived. They could be mutual, but they'd be short-lived. And I think it's really important to talk a little bit about being an empath and being maybe, I don't like the word more advanced soul, but more aware soul. So maybe you've been on this planet a few more times than the other people around you, and so you have a deeper sensitivity. If you're anything like me, you'd look around at other relationships kind of going, they look happy, they look like they just get on with each other. Like, what am I missing here? And one thing I've learned over time is that people don't really talk. They keep surface relationships going, and they don't really ever express their deeper truth for fear of being rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. I like to really be in truth, and that's really tough. And I know other people's truth has triggered me, particularly if they are promiscuous or if they have a tendency to stray or to be infatuated easily, because that would make me feel insecure and trigger all my stuff about not feeling good enough, worthy, deserving, all that kind of thing. Which, let's look at all of this. What is it? These are all healing opportunities, right? This is all about basically being able to see that when you enter into an intimate relationship with another person, if as a man you're entering into a woman, right? You're entering into the depths of her being, and as a woman you're allowing someone outside of you to enter the depth of your being. You're kissing, you're using tongues, you're touching each other's most sensitive parts. This is full on, man, and we do it so unconsciously. You know, usually our journeys start when we are teenagers, maybe older, often with drugs, alcohol, whatever's going to kind of make you feel like you've just got a bit more bravado and you can do it. And so real intimacy can actually be really difficult to engage in, and certainly if we don't have an intimate relationship with ourselves. So into me see, you know, knowing why we operate the way we do, knowing why we do things that we're not proud of, without judgment but with compassion. I know I've had a tendency in the past that if I wasn't getting the attention that I wanted from my partner or the person I was interested in, then I would look elsewhere. I would look for that validation elsewhere. I was never looking inside of myself. Now, this does not mean I was a serial cheater, because I wasn't. But I found it very hard to express my feelings, to be close to someone else. So the first person I ever really felt this with, I remember him getting on the bus and literally electricity running through my body. It was just like, boom. I was 11, right? But my whole life depended on whether this guy talked to me or not, or whether he nodded at me and gave me a little wink. And I was so depressed and so anxious, couldn't eat for 2 years. You know, just it was so much of my happiness was dependent on this validation. And I can only think it reminded me of the sort of emotional immaturity of my parents when they met. But what I'll say is this person's been in and out of my life, and when we were younger and really didn't know enough about ourselves, it was incredibly difficult to be around each other. It was like electricity, and we'd be really sort of like edgy with each other and unable to kind of harmonize and integrate and calibrate, because our energies would really feel each other. And as I've gone through relationships over my life, I definitely fell through the trap of trading sex for love, feeling that was, you know, to get some tenderness, to get some intimacy, I had to give my body. And actually, I was horny, you know, I wanted to express myself sexually. And I think this is a thing, again, when you're pulling in a lot of soul light. One thing that's very interesting about the third dimensional perspective on relationships is that to really feel union with God or source, it usually takes that union with another. It takes that orgasm or some breathtaking view, something, you know, really massive. But that's why we're so addicted to the sexual aspect of it, and how we've got really into pornography and into this gratification of like needing to unite but then to separate, because it's just so painful to unite. And if you're uniting with a stranger, you don't really even know they are. You're merging energies. Now, as a sensitive being, as a being that cannot separate your own feelings from someone else, you know, think about how you were in your own house as a child. Most children will absorb the emotions of the people around them and actually play them out. If they're not getting expressed, we will play them out. We will act them out. And we become emotional sponges for the unprocessed toxicity of the people around us. This is the coaching work that I do, is healing around that, and no longer claiming it as our truth. But as you get older, you know, generally you'll choose to have friendships with people that make you feel good. You like being around them, like that they're easy to be around. How much you can be around them. I mean, how much do we live with our friends? We live with our parents, then we might go into a house share. We might move in with a partner. We might, you know, live on our own. I haven't realized in all these years, having lived with 3 men in my life, you know, not even that. Yeah, 3 men in my life for short periods of time. I lived with my parents, I lived in house shares, I lived with 3 men in my life, and the rest of the time it's been with my daughter. But my daughter has mental health issues. She's claimed for years I have them too, and I may well do. People I know around me who are psychologists and psychotherapists claim I don't, but you know, she's known me very, very intimately. She's been inside me. Basically, what I find is that I can't really be around people a lot. I find their mood will bring me down. If they're in a bad mood or they're in a heavy space, it will bring me down. So in my attractions to men, and it's generally men, being around them for long periods of time would make me feel very uneasy, and I'd need to find some way to kind of numb myself a little bit, because I wouldn't be able to process the difference between what's my feelings and what's their feelings. And you know, the title of this video is really about when to stay and when to go, right? And having done this on-off 10-year thing based on the fact that the other person's feelings were stronger than mine, why did I keep going back? Because of how they felt about it and how I wanted to feel about it. And I was caught between my conditioning, which was about needing a man for security and stability, and I should be married and I should live with someone, and by this age I should do this, should do that. So I was oscillating between my conditioning, so my ego, my third dimensional reality, and then my true desire, which was to unite with someone on all levels, to actually feel like I can have a soul experience with them as well as a physical experience and an emotional and a mental experience. That does not mean, psychological by the way, it does not mean that they're my everything, but it's this deep soul recognition which people talk about now as they're seeking twin flame union, recognizing that a lot of us are meeting karmic soulmates. So we're meeting people we've been with before, and it's triggering these old wounds. And that 10-year thing was definitely one of those for me, was about learning this boundary between my own autonomy, and was I going to step forward and actually not give in to my conditioning, and actually step forward into my own ability to co-create for myself the life that I wanted to, without being dependent on another for my material needs to be met. And I've really battled with that internally. You know, I'm just coming out of it now, right, really? But basically what happened for me was I went to meet with my teacher, and I spent a week on retreat with my teacher in Kauai over 18 months ago now. And At that time, I ended this 10-year on-off thing because of something that for me was a transgression that was impossible to kind of get past, which it was just a difference in opinion, but to me meant everything. I asked, as my session with my teacher, for all of my Akashic records to be cleared of any vows, any contracts that were preventing me from moving forward in my life, in my relationships, and fully expressing in my divine design. Then I came back and very quickly got into what was, I suppose, it wasn't a relationship. I mean, I look back on it as a relationship because of what it's affected me as recently and the learnings that's come from it. But basically, I entered into it saying, I don't want anything. I just want to have a bit of fun. There was an attraction there. I felt like the attraction was towards me, and I was a little suspicious of it, but I was interested. And this is, again, this thing about the empath thing is that, you know, if someone is coming energetically towards you, are they coming at you with a force, which is one where they're wanting to consume you, or are they coming to you with a sort of tentacle-like energy where they're sort of going to hook in and start to pull energy from you? So there's that engulfing, and then there's that sort of hooking in and consuming that way. And usually I'm a little suspicious of people that are really interested in me. I kind of like to get to know someone sideways a bit, because feeling their energy around me, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping forward, stepping back, it takes me a little time to sort of go, oh yeah, I like this. But then once I'm in, I'm in. And the closer I got to this person, the more that actually I wanted to be there. I could feel them close up and I could feel their soul energy. And then it was like, oh, I really like this. And I got confused between the soul energy I was feeling in them and the energy of their personality, the energy of their humanness, which actually was different. It was jagged. It was not the same. They weren't in alignment. And this is the thing about 3D and 4D and 5D perspectives, is in the third dimension you're seeking to control someone in order to feel safe. In the third dimension you're seeking to amass material goods, so you're seeking to join together to protect your fortunes. You're making vows that will make you feel safe, but they never really do, because they're vows and we're human beings and we're going to end up being challenging those vows either internally or externally. And then the fourth dimensional perspective is more about understanding there's more to it than all of that, but not really understanding how we are co-creating in it. And this is what was starting to happen for me in this more recent connection. We were actually together 3 months. 6 months, 3 months of which were like really intensely beautiful. That sort of infatuation stage where you kind of, I put my cards on the table. I was like, I don't want anything. I just want to have some fun. So I felt naked. You know, I felt like I could just say, this is me. I've got nothing to hide. It took me a while to understand that they weren't meeting me in that place, that they were actually very guarded, and they were just kind of mirroring my light back to me. You know, the sort of like, look into my eyes, and kind of sending it back. But they weren't actually revealing anything themselves. And it took me a while to realize that. And so those first 3 months were beautiful. And it's very easy for me to say I was infatuated and it wasn't real, but that's not true. And I think empaths know this, that there is something really, really real when you connect with someone's soul. And you know that soul and you recognize that soul. And what you want more than anything is to reunite with that soul. And yet all of the humanness that is there, that is the conditioning of this life, is in the way of that. And it's preventing that, and it's causing conflict. And it's coming from both of you. You know, it's the DNA damage. It's the stuff we inherit from the stories of our families. And that does resonate with our soul traumas as well, which is what we've come here to heal. So think of it this way. In the fourth dimension relationship, there is this otherworldliness. There is this sense of exploring beyond the obvious 5 senses. But there is still the potential for harm and fear. Like, fear can actually block the relationship. Whereas when you're in 5D and beyond, you're basically able to love without attachment. You are able to be your higher self, to accept that in this moment you can be together and unite, and it's wonderful. And you're so full in yourself, and you can share in the fullness of another. But then when you're separate again, and if you feel a need to do something separate from each other, that's fine, because you're flowing your own. So there's no attachment. There's no, you've got to be with me. This has got to be what I want. This has got to be, this has got to work out because I've been so invested in it, which is third dimension, fourth dimension is the fear of loss. It's this reaching into and seeing the soul light beyond the human conditioning and the personality. But the fifth dimension is this full integration where you're basically in your essence. Your higher self is integrated in your being. You're meeting with other higher selves who are integrated in their being, and you're able to have this fulfilling experience. But you're not coming from an empty place. You're coming from a full place. So you're not seeking to attach in such a way that you're either consuming or sort of stepping in and siphoning. And I've had both experiences really awful. Both of these scenarios totally drained me. One, because I would feel like I was just being enveloped in an energy that was bringing me down. And the other one, because it felt like a hole in me had been made and energy was just being pulled from me without anything being given back, for fear of the fact that this person really just didn't feel full in themselves. And that's the lie. We're all full in ourselves. We're all so full in ourselves, and we actually get to know more of ourselves through each other. You know, we see the different facets of our diamond. Oh, I like this side. Oh, I don't like this side. Oh, yes, can you show this profile? It's much nicer than this profile. And you know, if we're willing to in relationships, and this is where you really get to see, should I stay or should I go? Is the other person willing to work through stuff with you? Is the other person willing to look at their own shadow, to own their shadow? Or are they just going to project their shadow on you and shut down every time you open up a dialogue, every time you open up an opportunity to try and move through a challenge that's coming up? Because if you are with your twin flame, everything that's unhealed in you is going to come up. If you're in a karmic soul mate relationship, then anything that's unhealed is going to come up, and you're going to have to confront that decision, which is, this lifetime I'm not putting myself through that again. This lifetime I'm making a different choice. It's just seeing if the lesson's been learned. But with the twin flame energy, anything that's unhealed in you and anything that's unhealed in them will come up, just like the deep, deep attraction that is actually there will pull you together and will be incredibly magnetic. That magnetism has a huge repulsion as well. It's equally magnetic and equally repulsive. So, you know, one thing my teacher taught me as I was challenged through this, because 6 months of a relationship and then basically another year getting over it, the one thing this person gave me was a deck of unicorn cards. And I've said this in many videos before. He's given me other things as well. Please don't take that the wrong way. And I've learned a lot through our connection. But he's just not prepared to see beyond the limited perceptions that hold his worldview. And that's fine. I cannot access the 5D, 6D, 7D version of him, which I fell in love with. And that's the thing about being on this planet, is if you are a multidimensional being, it's a bit of a cross checklist, isn't it? It's like, are they meeting you here? They might be meeting you there and you might be having a wonderful time, but are they meeting you here in this reality? If they're not, you've got to leave it, love. You know, out of self-preservation, you've got to leave it, because it's meeting in the physical as well. And anyway, what I've said about unicorns is that unicorns heal the soul, whereas angels heal the heart. And when your soul is ready to be healed, those lessons are hard, man. They are fucking hard. Because you're going to see how you show up for yourself. You're going to see how you show up for other people. And it has been heartbreaking to feel so much love, to feel so much longing to have this particular connection recognized, and then to also have to go completely to the other side of it and go, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was never there. Maybe I just projected all of this. Maybe I fell in love with my mirror. You know, maybe they just projected my light back to me. But actually, a truth is a truth is a truth. And empaths are claircognizant. We know stuff. And don't ever let anyone take that away from you. Maybe it's not this lifetime, or maybe it's not now in this lifetime. If you don't trust the other person to be able to learn their lessons as they need to away from you, to then be able to come to understand whatever's necessary for you to be able to connect again, then, you know, you're not really having a lot of faith in yourself either. So through ceremony, I was given the message to trust myself like I've never trusted myself before, and to wait without waiting, to just get on with my life. I was made to feel as though I'd blown my chances because I'd opened myself up to other things. And that's to do with their worldview and relationship view, which is much more limited than mine and much more conditioned than mine, because I have worked through a lot of that stuff and I'm willing to face my shadow. Whereas if the other person you've fallen for isn't, you're just going to end up round and round the loop. And what it ended up in is the inability to actually be around each other because of how much we trigger each other because of the fact that there is so much unsaid and unhealed. And what my teacher explained to me is that what I was seeing, because the reason I was getting so confused, and this is the 5D perspective, which I'm sure any of you who are kind of working in different dimensions, you know how confusing it can be. Every time I was doing really high frequency work, often when I was with my Light Body Adventure team or doing something with the clients where I'm holding space for them, I'd suddenly get this thing come in of them and me uniting, or them and me in another dimension, and we're together and we're in this beautiful space together. And that's why it was so confusing when it wasn't being met in the material physical world that I'm in at the moment at all. It was being blocked. The more I raised my frequency, the more I got in alignment with my divine design, the less they were interested. It was just like, wow, what's going on? Push, pull, trying to hold on, trying to understand what's going on, to harmonize, not happening. So teacher Susanna explained to me that these images are your oversoul. It's the oversoul connection. And this oversoul connection is reminding you of that really, really deep bond that exists between you. But if it can't be met by the human being that you are currently connected to, through separating from that being, out of love for yourself, out of self-respect, and this is the thing about, you've got to, as empaths, we can really put ourselves after the other person, and we can put their needs before ours, and we can feel their pain more than our pain. That's what kept me in the 10-year relationship. It's like, no, I am the most important person here, and I am not getting what I need here. I've got to take care of my own interests. You're as important too, but you're taking care of your own interests. I'm trying to take care of yours and mine through that. So this doesn't work for me. I trust that, I let go. And in that letting go, in that cutting off, in that separating, in that not willing to accept the unacceptable, what you want can actually come in. And it may come in through another person, it may come in through that person. So this whole thing about, you know, true love, it's got to be that person because you felt that feeling with them. No, that's not true. If they're not going to meet you, and that's happened 2 or 3 times in my life now, the energy, the oversoul of your twin flame, you are part of that oversoul, will find another suitable host to then meet you, that can actually meet you much more in the physical plane. And I think that's so important. What came to me, you know, there was a lot of endings around my birthday the week before, like things became impossible to carry on. But over the birthday weekend, the divine masculine showed up through 5 or 6 different men that are close to me. I'm not saying I had sex with them because I didn't, but just them showing up with respect, with love, with dignity, with a desire to give. But I had to give to myself first. I had to stop accepting something that was not meeting my needs at all. And then I could actually give again and receive again. And that's where it all comes in. So when you come to yourself and you're actually thinking, all right, is this serving me or not? I'm in this relationship. Are they willing to work through these things with me? What is it about me that hasn't come online here? What is it that I'm not happy about here? Notice for yourself your sensitivity and whether the feelings that you are feeling are actually coming from you or they're coming from them. Who's got the most negative mindset? And what are your personal boundaries? Like in relationship, how do you want to feel? Don't get caught up with long-winded stories. How do you want to feel in relationship? Where do you want to be met? In the middle? Do you want to be going all the way over to them? Do you want them to be coming all the way over to you? What is important for you to experience for your soul's growth? You know, these are questions to ask yourself. And then you look at the human relationship you're having and first of all, put it to the relationship. Be in truth, be in openness, be in honesty. If it can't meet you there, you have an answer, don't you? If you're being attacked for your truth, you have an answer there, don't you? If you're being shut down and pushed away because of your truth, you have your answer there, don't you? You deserve to be met, we all do. And I have really made myself suffer over the years, either by pushing things away or feeling I have to be perfect in order to have the love that I want, or by trying to cling on to things that I could see the potential in, but that potential was not materializing in the physical world. Let the flipping potential go, mate. If they're not showing up and they're not willing to do the work, stop making it easy for them. My God, if that's been a lesson for me. Stop. You don't want to make it easy for them. No one wants it made easy for them. You lose the value of what is. If it's so easy, you start to look at it and go, well, it can't be all that good, can it? So ask yourself the questions I have asked you, and I hope that these 25 minutes of my experience somehow will help you to understand how to navigate through what sort of relationship you want, whether you are willing to have a multi-dimensional relationship or you want a 3D relationship. And if you want a multi-dimensional relationship, then being with someone who is able to also meet you in those dimensions and aiming towards being in 5D with you, which is the highest frequency we can have here on this planet and still be embodied in physical form. It's when you are actually embodying your higher self. And apparently between now and Christmas, the New Year, so where are we? We're in August, mid-August, so just after the equinox, the autumn equinox or the spring equinox, depending where you are in the world, there's going to be a lot of twin flame coupling between, then, so 23rd of September and the December solstice. Please don't shit on me. Sorry, there was a seagull just going over. And a lot of coming together is going to be happening then. So we have to just drop our bullshit stories. We have to drop our poor me, victim consciousness stories. We need to get out of things that are not serving us. We need to be willing to get into things, not necessarily expecting them to be long term, but actually meeting in integrity, honesty, transparency, and dignity. And if you can actually embody those things, if you can actually be in truth, because the truth can change. You know, 1 minute it's yes and the next minute it's no, and that's okay, and to respect that. Remember, in the 5D, there's no fear, there's no pain. You've transcended that. What you want, have it. What I want, have it. You know, like, that. It's beyond the fact that there is a lack for someone to have something. There's no lack. Everybody is full. So if you want that, you're going to need to work towards it, and that's not going to be through blaming someone else or expecting someone else to fulfill you. It's going to come through you looking at your patterns and stories that have basically moved through your different relationships. I cannot tell you that all my relationships have been the same. They haven't. Every soul has been different. I've had really, really different people show up in my life. I've fallen in love with their hearts. You know, the type is really the willingness to go deep. And, you know, the more you reflect on you, the more you'll see how the different people in your life have brought out different aspects of you. And if you reflect on that, what they've brought out in you, and actually what you want to carry forward, then that will give you an idea of the vibrational frequencies you want to connect to. And I know for me, I want to feel like I can be with someone who can hold space for me, who can hear me, and if they're triggered, they can own that, and they can actually they don't have to shut down, they don't have to run away, and they don't have to attack me. And I'm prepared to offer that as well, and that's my discipline, is to be able to be in truth around that, to be transparent. So just be prepared to give what you want to receive, and bear in mind that there might be aspects of you that want something different. You know, there is a part of me that wants a man to look after me and make me feel safe, and all the stuff that actually I resist all the time because it's not really my truth, but it's my conditioning. So part of your multidimensional nature is going to be to actually be able to recognize that there's going to be some conflicts within you, and that ambiguity will lead you to get greater clarity as to what you're here to do. So for me, it is to be a self-sufficient human being in female form, able to enjoy deep exchanges and seeking to unite with another and to have sacred union with another in a long-term capacity, but recognizing there might be stepping stones along the way that my heart will feel impulse to connect with. That doesn't make me promiscuous, that doesn't make me a sex addict, that doesn't make me untrue to anyone that I have loved in the past or claim to have loved deeply. It's just that willingness to let go of resistance and to meet everything in the moment. And it's not either trading sex for love. You know, we're not even talking about sex particularly. We're talking about just being able to meet the souls that you're attracted to, you feel a deep connection to, and just to meet them in truth, whatever that truth is, to go where you're comfortable to go, and to look into where you're not comfortable to go, and to respect your own boundaries. As we learn to do that, we really are preparing for our twin flames. So I'll leave it there. If you enjoy my videos, then please subscribe. And bear in mind there's going to be a new multidimensional yoga video soon. I've just put some other videos on my Rosey Glow Facebook page and Rosanna Kalliabetsos page as well. So if you want to check them out, then please do. Lots of love from me. Namaste.